Well, hello there, this is Michael from Make It WordPress, and today we will be looking into GridPane, which is actually a WordPress control panel, as you can see on the website. It is in the same likes as ServerPilot or Uncloud and helps you to manage WordPress websites on your own virtual private service. So enough of the introduction, let's see what's GridPane all about. So basically, GridPane is a control panel in which you can have a WordPress installation which is totally optimized for WordPress on their own stack, and you can use the three well-known hosting providers: DigitalOcean, Vultr, or Linode, or even add your own custom VPS to start a server on which you can add multiple WordPress installations. So let's go ahead and add a new website for a new server for Vultr. As you can see, I can give a name to my server. And select a desired plan. Just spin up a small server and select region. I'm in the Netherlands. I'll pick Amsterdam. I can also enable the backups, which is a feature from Vultr and costs something more, but I can also put it off. And the good thing is I can enable their plate stack, and that's one of the big awesome things of GridPane, that I have a custom stack based on OpenResty, and we've been testing it a couple of months and it is really fast. So let's create a server. This is the password. Let's close it. As you can see, this server is now building. It takes some time, mostly about 10 minutes before a server is being built and the stack is set up. So in the meantime, I set up another server, as you can see up here. I can also delete it here or look into the credentials. So now that we have added servers, I filled the server in this case, let's see what we can do with sites. So we move over. Alrighty, so now that we have added a server, we will be looking into the Sites tab, in which you can add multiple WordPress installations. We will select one of the servers which is already available. The default system user, which is a user tied to your WordPress installation, is GridPane. We haven't added any system users yet, but I will show you in a moment. You can also select a bundle, which is a selection of WordPress themes and plugins, which will be installed by default. So it's some kind of template. And this is quite useful if you're working with multiple installations with the same setup. There's also some advanced option here, as you can see. You can have a staging site immediately, very useful if you're developing. I want to have a website to test new code on, new plugins, new themes, and not spoil the live website. And also there's a function for automatic updates, and this is quite awesome actually, because it makes a copy of your existing website. Each time plugins, themes, WordPress is updated, it will test visually up to 10 pages for any visual change, and if there is a change, the updates will be rolled back. Now last, I don't have it enabled, but if you have DNSMe, you can also have the update DNS option, which automatically updates your domains to the IP address of this server. Quite awesome. So let's add this website. So our website has now been added. As As you can see here, the installation test of makewordpress.com has been added on a given server with the user GridPane. These icons indicate whether I have staging and automatic updates enabled. I can also look up the database if I click on here. I will go to a PHP myadmin like login. I always get some errors, and as you can see here, there's the database of this new install. Let's close it down and go back to the installation. There's also a log in which I can see some of the details. Not so relevant. So if I click on this website, there are a couple of settings which I can enable. I can enable SSL in one click. I can turn off the automatic updates feature which I talked earlier. I can, by default, Redis caching is enabled, and this caches the pages of a website and also the object caching of a website through Redis. And we've tested this and found it quite performant. Actually, much more performant as a combination of a varnish and Redis actually. And this also has to do with their awesome plate stack based on OpenResty. As you can see, there are multiple other tabs here. In this tab, I can enable backups on two levels. Local backups, I can do an immediate backup, but also I can do remote backups. And for this, I need to add a connection to Backblaze or Wasabi, which are cloud providers for backups. And if these are enabled, I can have remote backups. And the backups feature is quite powerful in GridPane because it backups every quarter, every 15 minutes. So it's almost real time. And this is a great plus. The bad thing about it is that it will trigger a lot of interaction with your backup cloud provider, Backblaze or Wasabi, which will give somewhat more backup costs. So there's also a tab for domains in which you can add primary domains but also alternate domains if you want to point them from your DNS settings. For this installation, there is an option to enable multi-sites in one click. This is very useful because usually you have to do this manually in WordPress, but it also set up your server settings automatically, so redirects and so on are handled properly. And often this is a pain to set up manually, especially with Nginx servers. And at last, they have a beta feature, which is an automatic widescreen of that resolution, which you can put on. It is a script which automatically solves problems that makes your WordPress website only show a white page. And this sounds quite sophisticated. I haven't tested it yet, but of course this is quite awesome if it works. So basically this compromises our website. Of course, there's much more into GridPane, but these are the basics. Let's close it down. We click on this website. We can also have a single sign-on enabled, which allows us to immediately sign on in our WordPress website from our GridPane panel. If you go to this, we see that a plain WordPress website with the 2019 theme has been installed, and we can log in and do our thing on it. So let's see some of the other features of GridPane. There's also staging tab in the menu. This allows to have staging websites which I can push back and forth. It's quite easy. I can push my live site to the staging and do changes there, or push the staging back. I can also alter the staging website database and pull it of course off if I don't want it. This is actually a quite awesome way of having staging websites. It's something I was quite stunned about, because it's very it gives a very good overview and it's quite easy to use. There's also a tab for updates, and this is the tab that shows websites which have automatic updates enabled. This is what I talked about earlier. What you can see here is that there are no changes in visual comparison. So they did a test with updating, and they didn't see any change in visual, so the update could progress. So I explained it earlier, but the update safely feature is a feature which makes actually screenshots of your website after updating and compares it to the screenshots of the website before updating, and if there is any notable difference, it won't update. Pretty awesome if you ask me. So there we go to the other tab, which is System Users. This is quite a useful feature that it allows to add new users. So let's add a test user. Just call it make it work. We will add some random password. Oops, can't forget it. Let's add this random password. And even link a public key and add this user to server. Let's do this to this server. Whoops, this is the last pass going on. And this user is no, what I can do now is link this user to a website, and the user will only have access to this WordPress website. The good thing is that these websites are isolated to this user only. So if there is a hacking attempt at one website or there's malware, it will only influence the website that are tied to that user. So let's go back to the Sites tab. And if we click on a site here, we can have this option, change the site owner, click on it and select our new user. Now we can use this user to log in either over SSH or SFTP to access our website files. At last, there is a tab with tools. This is also a quite useful tab. You can select a certain server here, for example, our test server, and you can do rollbacks, backups, migrations, even quick fixes such as reset password, data start, reset file permissions, clear caches, but also the feature to restore or clone is quite useful. So it's pretty easy to move websites to different servers to have if, for example, if an application is running on too much resources and you want to put it on a bigger server, of course you can scale up the server, but you could also move it to a bigger existing server, such kind of things. And of course, if you make a mistake, you can roll back backups. This is also possible at site level, for example. So next to tools, well, I have the developer account in GridPane, so the snapshot failover is not available actually, but this is a feature when one of your servers fails. It will have a failover server. So actually, that means that your website will be online all the time, even if one server fails. So let's go back to the home or the list of our servers. We will, after we have added a WordPress installation to a server, we can also see its stats by clicking on this icon. I always have this error. And now you can see different stats on the server, like the using of the disk, server load, the use of memory, all these things. And it's quite useful to get a good view on your website, and if you can add more applications and the server is still performance. Let's close it down again. So one thing I want to show is the personal settings page. So let's go there, because there are a lot of options which are quite useful. This is not so. First is that you can add themes with different users, and you can tie them also to servers and sites, so there are different access levels. This is quite useful. This feature is quite useful if you're working with multiple teams, multiple developers, and want to restrict access somehow. Let's see, there is a GridPane. In the Vultr API, I can add my Vultr credentials, so GridPane can add new Vultr servers automatically. It's the same for Linode and DigitalOcean. I can have a connection to DNS made easy, which I explained earlier. One other thing is SMTP providers. Because GridPane doesn't add any email functionality by default in the stack, which is quite logically, because it's better to separate email services from hosting only. So what you can do here is connect SendGrid to GridPane, so that all emails that are sent out of WordPress, so emails when you add a new user or when a form is submitted on your WordPress website, will be delivered by SendGrid, and they will have Mailgun and Mailjet support coming soon. There's also some settings for default WP admin settings, default password, email, and usernames, which are used for adding new installations. There are settings for adding your backup provider AP keys. So when you add your account ID, your AP keys here, it allows to have remote backups. The settings for automatic updates are here. So how big should be the comparison threshold, how many errors are allowed, and how often in hours should updates occur. And of course, 168 hours is a week. Furthermore, there is a settings for the widescreen of that resolutions, and if such an event fire, you can also enable email notifications. Quite useful if some errors happen on your WordPress website and you're not aware of them, you will be emailed. And another thing I love is the Slack notifications service, in which you can connect your Slack, which is a chat service, to GridPane, and any of the things happening described in here will also be pushed to your Slack channel, so you'll get updates about what's happening in your GridPane and with your WordPress installation. At last, you have the bundle functionality, and in the bundle functionality you can add some, I will call this kind of templates. You can have a bundle with themes and plugins. You can use these bundles when adding sites, so these themes and plugins will be installed by default when selecting this bundle. While adding a site, I will go back to the site tab for a moment. So in here, when you add a website, you can select a bundle, and the settings from this bundle will be used. So that's just quite a useful feature. So this basically compromised all of GridPane. Of course, there is a lot more in it, which you can also see and read about in the written review. You can also see figures on the performance, and it tells how many users the server can handle. And also I will talk more about their support, which is quite awesome. GridPane is run by Jeff and Patrick, and I've been in touch with them for quite some things, and they're often very responsive and helpful and think along to improve this platform. So I'm quite happy with the support. That having said, the platform is still in development, and during the use I've been using it for a couple of months now. I've encountered some bugs, but they often have been resolved quite fast. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to add any comment or leave a reaction behind. Thank you for watching.